Glad you guys are here.
Yeah.
Coach, you had first day of Big 12 meetings. How did it go?
It was great having the Big 12 meetings here in Orlando and, seeing colleagues and just talking about our league and how we're going to help grow it and the things we're going to do, to make the Big 12 one of the most competitive leagues in women's basketball.
Obviously there's a lot going on in college athletics with the House settlement, Rev Share coming up and all those kind of things. How much did that dictate maybe what you guys were discussing with it?
We talked a lot about revenue share and just the settlement and how, we're going to tackle it as a league and make sure that we're being competitive against and with the other conferences.
What are the major points of those conversations and trying to stay competitive and stay at the top of college basketball?
We talked a lot about, when it comes to revenue share, we talked about scheduling. Okay, we got to go schedule good teams to make sure that we're represented and that we're doing well in the NCAA tournament. So we talked about that. We talked about how do we promote each other in each university. And so I thought it was very, very productive. It's been a great productive meetings and the weather is good. People are enjoying Orlando, and so we're having a great time and just excited to have our conference here in Orlando.
How much of these discussions, as coaches, you guys all go through the similar challenges, and you talk about the portal and having to rebuild a roster almost every year, it seems like, especially, everyone almost goes through this. How much of those discussions with your colleagues are going on that about how challenging that's become?
I think we're very open about it, and I think you have to be in this day and age because it's different, right? And as a coach, you have to elevate to the level of the changes, and it's flipping your roster pretty much. And so we talked about that. How do we help each other? How do we also go about this in a respectful way? And I think that we had some productive days in doing that. But it's definitely a new day in college coaching. We just got to continue to level up and be competitive with other conferences.
You just talked about flipping your roster. I know I've seen a lot of signees come through the last few weeks. Tell us about some of these new additions that you're going to have on your team next year.
Oh, well, we're excited about, the new additions. It's always good to be able to start from scratch and to be able to start our own era, okay? And we're excited about the returners, too. Mahogany led us in offensive rebounding. She's just a sophomore. Kai led us in rebounding, and she's just a junior. So we're excited about that and adding on some talent with us. We were able to get a point guard, Leah, out of the University of Miami, and it's the first time we feel like we've had a true point guard in a few years. And so I think to be able to lean on her and her experiences, and she and I have already gone to lunch and talked about how we're going to run this program together. So we're excited about the future.
When you're flipping a roster, what does building a program look like now?
It's three things I look for: character, academics, and basketball. That's what it looks like to me. I want to make sure as we're flipping the roster, we are getting kids in here with good character, okay? That's not to say that players don't come with their issues. Academically, we got to make sure we're competing and doing the right things in the classroom and winning games. So when I'm flipping a roster, I'm looking for a player that can, elevate with those three characteristics. It's important.
Has it gone the way you expected it to go, or have you had roadblocks?
Oh, no, I think, of course, you're going to hit some roadblocks, okay? I can't say we didn't, but I am excited and about the players that we have coming and the players that are going to continue to help us.
You look at Rev Share,
Yeah.
how it's going to work for you guys. I'm sure you had meetings with Terry about this and what's going to look like, but what's the challenge, do you think, for the first year in Rev Share for you guys as a program?
The first thing, challenge is, I think with most universities, you always want more, right? Mm-hmm. So I think we of course want more so that we can go out and compete against and get those top players. But I think it's evaluating. You have to really do a great job of evaluating. You got to be able to be fair and try to give prospects their market value. So there's constant conversations on getting that right player for the right amount.
You've gone through the Big 12 now 2 full seasons, so you've been to most of the venues. What will it take to kind of get UCF over the hump and getting to a point where where you can compete for the NCAA tournament?
Well, that's going to take time, okay? And it would take, as we just talked about, with rev share, being able to go out and have the right amount of money and going to get a top prospect. And, you know, at this day and age is what it's about. But it's going to take time. This is going into our third year in the Big 12. We were predicted in women's basketball, okay, lower than what we finished. We finished higher than what we were predicted. So that's improvement. So that's the hump. You got to improve every year. Every year get better and better. And that'll take time, but we're going to keep working hard and, you know, bringing the right prospects in here. This season we had an all-conference freshman team player. We had a second-team all-conference player. In 2 years, that's not bad.
What challenges are you facing as it pertains to retention? Is it just strictly about dollars and cents, or are you having further issues in terms of keeping the best players on your team?
For us, it was a lot about, you know, what prospects felt that was best for them and their family when it came to dollars and cents. And unfortunately, that's sometimes the day and age that you're living in. And, you know, the kids that we wish them the best, that had to do what was best for them and their families, we wish them nothing but the best.
I asked this of Johnny also during the Crown. Do you think basketball is in a position with as much turnover as you're seeing year on year, school on school, where basketball is in a sustainable position?
Oh, absolutely. I think we are. I think we're navigating right, because we're weathering the storm right now, as all universities are. But I think we're having the conversations that we have to have to make sure that we sustain it, right? And we're fair across the board with the Power 4 schools. And that way you can go and you can compete and you can sell your university and who you are as a coach. I do think that we're having those conversations now, so it will be sustainable.
How has your sales pitch changed since when you first got here?
It's different. My sales pitch has changed a lot. Let me open. Where's my purse? No, joking. No, joking. My sales pitch is this and changing. The number one thing is that you got to figure out what's important to those kids, okay? And two, you have to also figure out what is their non-negotiables, okay? And if we can't meet that financially from the beginning, then we have to move on. We just do. That's the
How challenging
difference.
is that conversation for you as a coach?
I ask them, what is your non-negotiable? And if they say it's a dollar amount that we can't reach, we have to go get the next best player to make sure we're competing.
It had been NIL, now it's going to be rev share with the House settlement when that gets finalized here soon. So how competitive is, your cut of the rev share compared to the rest of the Big 12? I know every coach always wants more. I understand that. Yeah.
I think you're right. Every coach wants more, and we're still trying to figure that out, and asking questions and figuring out where we UCF when it comes to rev share versus other universities. So I don't know that answer. I do know this: we're going to go out and get the best with what we're given. We're maximizing what we have, and that's what's important.
How chemistry feels to me like it would be the most important, like especially when you're turning over your roster year in year. How do you have to change maybe your approach on building chemistry, or do you change your approach on building chemistry when you have new players? It seems like every year.
You do have to change your approach on building chemistry. One of the things that we did last year, we had over 30 hours of team bonding that we just did to make sure that our kids understood that, once you have that chemistry, then the rest, you're going to want to run and get the ball and go after a hustle and give more. So I've been intentional about scheduling bonding just because it's a whole new team each year.
And how do you mentioned how, non-negotiable, when you sit down with a player, how is it when when you're sitting down with and you're having that discussion, you don't want to see other players, how much are you making, how do you kind of avoid that, or is that something you can't avoid to maybe make sure the locker room doesn't?
Well, this is the first year that I think fully we've experienced it at UCF, so I don't know that experience yet. We've had a few in the past that's gotten paid, but for the majority of our players, the biggest thing is now players, you want to be pros. You got to act like you're a pro. So you don't tell exactly everything that's going on within your household. Hopefully that helps a lot, but you can't, you know, hide the conversations and the questions. But what you have to do is let your game speak for itself, and then I think the rest will follow.
All right, thanks everyone.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.
The other women's coaches